The day my family shunned me for being a mechanic, then begged me to fix their ruined lives. The call came at 3 a.m., jolting me from a dreamless sleep. My father's voice cracked with desperation, something I'd never heard from him before. "Lillian, we need your help. I'm Lillian. And for the past decade, my family has treated me like the black sheep who threw away her potential by choosing to work with cars instead of pursuing a respectable career." Now here was my father, the same man who once told me I was embarrassing the family name by playing mechanic, begging for my assistance. "What happened?" I asked, already knowing this had something to do with my perfect brother, Bentley. "It's complicated," Dad stammered. "Can you come over?" "First thing in the morning?" I glanced at the framed photo on my nightstand. Me at 18, covered in grease, standing proudly next to my first restored Mustang. Mom had refused to display it in their house, calling it unladylike. "I have a business to run," I replied, letting the silence stretch uncomfortably. "3 businesses, actually. Remember those grease monkey shops you were so ashamed of? Please, sweetheart, your mother, she's not handling this well." I sat up, running my fingers through my hair. "I'll be there at 7 before my first shift starts." The drive to my parents' mansion in my restored '69 Chevelle felt surreal. I bought this car as a wreck for $500 5 years ago. Now it was worth north of $60. Not that my family would ever appreciate that kind of transformation. Zariel called while I was en route. "Boss lady, you're not gonna believe what I just heard through the grapevine about Bentley's startup." "Save it." I cut in. "I'm heading to my parents now. Pretty sure I'm about to hear the whole story. Want backup?" "I can be there in 20. Thanks, E, but I need to handle this solo." The gates to the estate opened automatically. At least they hadn't cut power to those yet. Mom was waiting at the door in her silk robe, her perfectly maintained facade cracking around the edges. "Lillian," she said stiffly. "You came. You sound surprised." I stepped past her into the marble foyer, my work boots echoing against the floor. "Where's the golden child?" "Your brother is in the study with your father." Her voice wavered. "Try to be kind." I almost laughed. "Like you all were to me?" The study door was open. Dad sat behind his massive desk, looking 10 years older than when I'd last seen him at Christmas. Bentley paced by the window, still wearing yesterday's rumpled suit. "Well?" I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. "I've got a staff meeting at 8, so let's make this quick." "Your brother's company," Dad began, "failed spectacularly," I finished. "Yeah, I figured. The tech bubble's been bursting for months." Bentley whirled around. "You don't know anything about it. You fix cars for a living." "I run 3 successful businesses that fix cars," I corrected him. "And unlike you, I actually understand profit margins and sustainable growth." "Enough." Dad slammed his hand on the desk. "Lillian, please, this isn't just about Bentley's company. He invested everything. Our retirement fund, the house equity." My stomach dropped. "How much?" "All of it," Bentley whispered. "And then some." The room spun slightly. I'd expected bad, but this? "You let him gamble away your entire fortune after all that talk about responsible business practices?" Mom appeared behind me, wringing her hands. "We trusted him. He has an MBA from Harvard." "Yes. You've only mentioned it about 1,000 times." I turned back to Dad. "So what exactly do you want from your disappointment daughter? The one you said would never amount to anything?" The silence was deafening. Finally, Dad spoke, his voice barely audible. "We need money, Lillian. Alone. Just until we can sort this out." I pulled out my phone, checking the time. 7:23 a.m. In 37 minutes, I'd be starting another productive day at my embarrassing business while my Harvard-educated brother had just destroyed our family's legacy. "I'll think about it," I said, already heading for the door. "But first, I want to hear exactly how this happened. Every detail." "And Bentley?" I paused, meeting his bloodshot eyes. "You might want to change out of that suit. Where you're going, it'll just get in the way." I spent the morning at my flagship garage trying to focus on work while my phone buzzed with desperate texts from my family. "Casey, my head mechanic noticed something was off when I fumbled a basic oil change." "Earth to Lillian," he said, sliding out from under a Porsche. "That's the 3rd time you've checked the dipstick. What's going on?" I wiped my hands on my coveralls. "Remember how I always said my brother would crash and burn someday?" "Yeah. Well, he just took the whole family fortune down with him." Casey whistled low. "Damn, that's why your phone's been blowing up?" "Yep." I showed him the latest message from Mom. "Please come back. We need to discuss options." "What are you going to do?" Before I could answer, Zuriel burst through the office door. "Holy shit, Lil. I just got the full scoop on Bentley's mess. He didn't just lose the family money. He borrowed against their house, took out high-interest loans, even emptied your mom's inheritance from your grandmother." My hands started shaking. "How do you know all this?" "My cousin works at the bank. Bentley's been there every day this week trying to get more loans." They're about to foreclose on the house. I grabbed my keys. Casey, can you handle things here? Go. He nodded. Just don't let them manipulate you, okay? The mansion looked different in the afternoon light, less imposing, more vulnerable. This time, Bentley opened the door, his Harvard swagger replaced by dark circles under his eyes. They're in the living room, he mumbled, going through the paperwork. I found my parents surrounded by stacks of documents, Mom openly crying as Dad highlighted numbers in red. Show me everything, I demanded, holding out my hand. Dad passed me a folder. It's bad, Lillian. Bad was an understatement. Bentley had burned through $1 million in just 18 months. The tech startup, some ridiculous app for trading digital art, had never even launched properly. The house goes up for auction next month, Mom whispered. We'll have nowhere to go. You could have stopped him, I said, my voice tight. All those times I came to you for startup capital for my first garage, you said I was irresponsible, that I needed a real business plan, but you just handed everything over to him? He had spreadsheets, Dad defended weakly. Projections. I had projections too, but you wouldn't even look at them because they involve motor oil instead of microchips. Bentley stepped forward. Look, I know I messed up. Messed up? I laughed harshly. You destroyed everything our family built over 3 generations. And for what? So you could play tech entrepreneur? I was trying to innovate. No, you were trying to get rich quick. Meanwhile, I built my business the hard way. One garage at a time, one satisfied customer at a time. Mom dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Please, Lillian, we know you've done well for yourself. If you could just help us with the mortgage, why should I? The words came out before I could stop them. When I needed help, you all turned your backs on me, called my dream worthless. We were wrong, Dad said quietly. Is that what you want to hear? We were wrong about you. And we were wrong about Bentley. I stood up pacing the room. Through the window, I could see my Chevelle parked next to Bentley's leased Tesla, which would probably be repossessed any day now. The house is worth what? $4 million? I asked. 4.2, Dad confirmed. But with the loans against it and the total debt, Mom's hands trembled as she checked the spreadsheet. Just over $6 million. I let out a low whistle. That's a lot of oil changes. We know it's too much to ask. Dad started, but I cut him off. Actually, it's not. I pulled out my phone checking my business accounts. I could cover it, but I won't, not without conditions. The room went silent. Even Bentley stopped his nervous pacing. What conditions? Mom asked. I looked each of them in the eye, savoring the moment. First, I get full control of all family assets, what's left of them anyway. Second, you all work for me until the debt is paid off. Work at your garages? Bentley looked horrified. Where else? Unless you've got another Harvard degree hiding somewhere that's actually worth something? Mom started to protest, but Dad held up his hand. What exactly would this arrangement entail? I smiled, already picturing Bentley in coveralls. Come to my office tomorrow morning, all of you. I'll have the contracts ready. As I walked out, I heard Mom burst into fresh tears. Part of me felt guilty, but a bigger part remembered all the tears I'd shed alone in my first tiny garage, determined to prove them wrong. Now they'd learn exactly what their grease monkey daughter was capable of. My office wasn't what they expected. Located in a renovated industrial building, it balanced modern luxury with industrial chic. Exposed brick walls, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a restored vintage Harley-Davidson displayed in the corner. Their faces as they walked in said it all. This is yours? Mom touched the Italian leather couch hesitantly. All of it. I gestured for them to sit, including the building. Zuriel arrived with coffee. Premium roast, not the instant stuff Mom used to tell me was good enough for a mechanic. She placed the cups on my glass desk with a knowing smirk. The contracts are ready, Zuriel announced. Need anything else, boss? Just make sure we're not disturbed. I waited until she left before continuing. So let's talk about your new jobs. Bentley shifted uncomfortably in his designer suit. I still think there must be other options. There aren't. I pulled out 4 folders. Unless you've got $6 million hidden somewhere? Dad cleared his throat. What exactly will we be doing? Mom, you'll handle customer service at our Riverside location. Dad, you'll manage parts inventory at downtown. And Bentley? I smiled. You're starting in the pit with Jillian. The pit? Mom looked confused. Oil changes, tire rotations, basic maintenance, where every good mechanic starts. Bentley jumped up. This is ridiculous. I have an MBA. And look how far that got you. I leaned back in my chair. Sit down, Bentley. Unless you prefer explaining to your country club friends why your Tesla got repossessed. He sat. The contracts are simple, I continued. You work for me for 3 years minimum, standard 40-hour weeks, industry standard pay. Everything goes toward paying off your debt. I'll handle the house payments and keep the creditors away, but one wrong move, one attempt to undermine me, and the deal's off. 3 years? Mom whispered. Would you prefer bankruptcy, public auctions? Your face is in the financial papers? Dad picked up his contract, scanning the terms. And after 3 years, if you've proven yourselves valuable employees, we can discuss more permanent arrangements. I passed them each a pen. Your choice. The silence stretched as they read. Finally, Dad signed first. Mom followed, her signature shakier than usual. Bentley stared at his contract like it might bite him. This is karma, isn't it? He muttered. No, brother dear, this is business. I tapped the paper. Sign. As he scrawled his signature, Casey knocked and entered. Sorry to interrupt, but we've got that Maserati waiting for inspection. Perfect timing, I said. Casey, meet your new apprentice. Bentley needs his coveralls fitted. Casey's eyes widened with recognition. This is your brother? The Harvard guy? Former Harvard guy, I corrected. Current trainee mechanic. Show him the ropes, but don't go easy on him. Wait, now? Bentley protested. I'm not dressed for your shift started 5 minutes ago. I pointed to the door. Casey will show you where to change. After they left, Mom dabbed at her eyes again. Lillian, please. He's not cut out for manual labor. Like, I wasn't cut out for business? I pulled up my garage's financial reports on my desktop screen. See these numbers? This is what not cut out for it looks like. 3 profitable locations, 47 employees, and contracts with every luxury car dealership in the city. We didn't know, Dad said softly, about any of this. You never asked. I stood up. Your shifts start tomorrow. I suggest you both get some rest. Manual labor takes some getting used to. They left looking shell-shocked, but I wasn't done. I headed down to the garage floor where Casey had Bentley struggling into steel-toed boots. Having fun? I asked. Bentley glared up from the bench. This is humiliation and you know it. No, this is honest work. Something you've never tried. I picked up a basic wrench. You know what this is? Of course, I know what a wrench is. Good, because by the end of today, you'll need to know the name and function of every tool in that box. Jillian will test you. On cue, Jillian rolled out from under a car nearby. Looking forward to it, boss. I left Bentley gaping at his new supervisor, a tattooed woman 10 years his junior, and headed back upstairs. Through my office window, I watched Mom and Dad climb into their Mercedes, probably one of the last times they'd drive it. My phone buzzed with a text from Casey. Your brother just asked if we have a valet for the customer cars. I smiled, remembering all the times they'd laughed at my career choice. Let him figure it out. I typed back the hard way. Just like I had to, 1 week into their new jobs and the complaints were already rolling in. I sat in my office reviewing the incident reports with Zariel. Your mother made 3 customers cry yesterday, Zariel said, shuffling through papers. Apparently, she told Mrs. Anderson her Ferrari was new money gauche and suggested she try a Lexus instead. I rubbed my temples. And Bentley? Failed his tool test for the 3rd time. Jillian says he keeps calling her sweetheart and trying to explain business concepts to her while she's working. A knock interrupted us. Casey entered looking exhausted. Your brother just tried to delegate his oil changes to the intern again. Where is he now? Hiding in the break room complaining about his manicure being ruined? I stood up. Time for a family meeting. I found them all in the break room. Mom still in her pressed pantsuit despite the dress code, Dad actually trying in his new uniform, and Bentley sulking in the corner with grease-stained hands. Sit down, I ordered. We need to talk about your performance reviews. Performance reviews? Mom looked offended. We've only been here a week, and it's been a disaster. I pulled out the reports. Mom, you can't insult customers based on their car choices. Dad, inventory counts need to be exact, not approximately correct. And Bentley, I turned to my brother, Jillian is your supervisor. Her gender and age are irrelevant. She's barely qualified to Bentley started. She's been with me for 3 years and can rebuild a transmission blindfolded. You can barely change oil without whining. Dad raised his hand like a schoolboy. I've been trying, Lillian. Really? I know, Dad. That's why you're getting transferred to the front desk at Riverside. Mom's moving to inventory where she'll have minimal customer contact. And me? Bentley asked. You're staying right where you are until you learn some humility, and Jillian's getting a bonus for putting up with you. The door opened and a customer walked in. One of our regulars with a classic Mustang collection. His eyes widened at the scene. Mr. Roberts, I smiled. How's that 65 running? Like a dream, thanks to you. He glanced at my family. Are these your new hires? My family, actually. They're learning the business. Bentley straightened up. I'm her brother, Harvard MBA. I'm sure we could discuss some investment opportunities. Bentley, I snapped. Break room now. After Mr. Roberts left, I rounded on my brother. You do not solicit our customers, ever. You lost that privilege when you burned through millions of their colleagues' money. I'm trying to help. No, You're trying to avoid actual work, again. I pulled out my phone. Jillian, could you come to the break room? She appeared moments later, coveralls pristine despite having just finished a break job. What's up, boss? Give me an honest assessment of Bentley's progress. She crossed her arms. He refuses to get his hands dirty, won't listen to instructions, and spent 2 hours yesterday trying to convince me that we should disrupt the automotive industry with some app idea. Mom stood up. This isn't fair, Lillian. We're trying our best. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you're all still acting like you're too good for this work, my work. We're not used to this. Dad gestured vaguely. Well, get used to it fast because starting tomorrow, things change. I turned to Jillian. Take Bentley through the certification checklist again. If he fails, he starts cleaning bathrooms. You wouldn't dare. Bentley paled. Try me. Mom, Dad, your new assignments start in an hour, and lose the designer clothes. You're not impressing anyone here. As they filed out, Casey appeared with another update. Your brother's Tesla just got towed from the parking lot. Good. I checked my watch. Right on schedule. You knew? I called the repo company myself. I watched through the window as Bentley discovered his empty parking spot. He needs to learn there are consequences. You're enjoying this a little too much. Casey grinned. Maybe. I turned back to my paperwork, but they're learning more in a week than they have in years. Speaking of which, I picked up my phone again. Time to call the realtor about their house. I think it's ready for some renovations. Renovations? Well, if they're going to live in it under my ownership, it needs a proper garage. Don't you think? Casey laughed. You're evil. No. I smiled, watching Bentley throw a tantrum in the parking lot. I'm just giving them the education they never gave me. The accident happened 3 weeks into their employment. I was in a meeting when Zariel burst into my office, face pale. Bentley just dropped a Mercedes on the lift, she said breathlessly, with someone under it. I ran to the garage floor, heart pounding. Jillian was being helped up by Casey, shaken but miraculously unharmed. The Mercedes lay at an angle, its side panel crushed. What happened? I demanded. Your brother decided he didn't need a spotter to operate the lift, Casey explained, his voice tight with anger. Jillian barely rolled out in time. Bentley stood to the side, still holding the lift controls. I've watched it done 100 times. I thought you thought. I exploded. You could have killed someone. Where's the customer? In the waiting room, Jillian said, rubbing her shoulder. He saw everything. I found the Mercedes owner pacing by the coffee machine. One look at his face told me this wasn't going to be pretty. Sir, I cannot apologize enough. That idiot could have killed your mechanic, he shouted. And my car. Do you know how rare that model is? I do, sir. I promise we'll make this right. Make it right? I'm calling my lawyer. Mom appeared from the inventory room drawn by the commotion. Perhaps I could offer you some coffee while we Mom. Not now. I turned back to the customer. Sir, please come to my office. We'll handle this professionally. 2 hours and one very expensive settlement later, I called a mandatory staff meeting. My family sat in the front row. Bentley still trying to defend himself. It was an honest mistake. Anyone could have shut up. I rarely raised my voice, but this was it. This isn't about a mistake. This is about you thinking rules don't apply to you. Again, I was trying to be efficient. You were trying to show off. Jillian shot back. I told you 3 times to wait for a spotter. I held up my hand for silence. Bentley, you're suspended for 2 weeks without pay. What? But the debt will take longer to pay off. Consider it motivation to follow safety protocols when you return. I turned to my parents and you too. Why wasn't anyone supervising him? Mom bristled. We were doing our jobs as you demanded. Your jobs include watching out for each other. Or did you think your precious son was above basic safety training? Dad at least had the decency to look ashamed. We should have been more vigilant. Yes, you should have. I pulled out some papers. So here's what's going to happen. Mom, Dad, you're both taking safety certification courses. Full program. No shortcuts. But that's entry-level training, Mom protested. Exactly. Bentley, when you return, you start from scratch. Complete recertification with direct supervision. One more mistake like this, and you're out? Debt or no debt. You can't do this to me. Bentley stood up. I'm your brother. No. Right now, you're my employee. A dangerous one. I stepped closer. And if you ever put one of my people at risk again, being unemployed will be the least of your worries. The room fell silent. Casey cleared his throat. What about the Mercedes? Insurance will cover it, but our premiums will skyrocket. I glared at Bentley. Coming out of your wages, of course. This is ridiculous. Bentley grabbed his jacket. I'm calling my lawyer. Your lawyer dropped you weeks ago, I reminded him. Along with your credit cards, car, and dignity. Want to try for your work boots too? He deflated visibly, slumping back into his chair. Meeting dismissed, I announced. Except for you 3, we're not done. After everyone left, I faced my family. I've been too lenient. That changes now. Lenient? Mom scoffed. You've been torturing us. No. I've been teaching you. Clearly not well enough. I pulled up the garage's security footage. Watch this. Watch how close Bentley came to killing someone today because he couldn't follow simple instructions. They watched in silence as the Mercedes tilted dangerously on screen. Jillian rolling away seconds before disaster. This is what happens when you think you're above the rules, I said quietly. Sound familiar, Bentley? Like a certain investment scheme? He wouldn't meet my eyes. From now on, you all report directly to Casey. No shortcuts, no special treatment, no family passes. I headed for the door. And Bentley, clean out that Mercedes before you leave by hand. Maybe some manual labor will help you remember why we have safety protocols. Lillian, Dad called as I reached the door. We are trying, you know. I paused, remembering all the times I'd said those same words to them only to be dismissed. Try harder, I said, and left them sitting there surrounded by the consequences of their actions. The first sign something was wrong came when our online reviews started tanking. 1-star ratings flooded in, all with similar complaints. Wrong parts installed, overcharged services, rude staff. I knew immediately who was behind it. Look at this, Zuriel said, showing me her tablet. Someone's been posting on local business forums about our fraudulent practices. The writing style seems familiar. I scrolled through the posts. Harvard Business School level vocabulary with prep school entitlement has to be Bentley. Want me to trace the IP? No need. I picked up my phone. Casey, where's my brother right now? Computer showing him logged in to Terminal 3 in the back office, said he was studying safety manuals. Check his screen. A minute later, Casey's voice crackled back. Caught him red-handed. He's writing another review as we speak. I stormed down to the back office. Bentley scrambled to close his laptop, but not fast enough. Having fun? I asked, crossing my arms. I was just trying to destroy my business? Again? I grabbed his laptop. Let's see. Unprofessional management more interested in personal vendettas than customer service. Creative. You're running our family name into the ground. No. You did that when you lost $6 million. I'm trying to save it. Mom appeared in the doorway. What's going on? Your son is sabotaging the business that's keeping you all out of bankruptcy. I turned the laptop to show her. Recognize his writing style? She read the screen, face falling. Bentley, how could you? How could I? How could she? He gestured at me wildly. She's humiliating us, making us work like common laborers. As opposed to what? I shot back. White-collar criminals? That's enough. Dad's voice boomed from behind Mom. Both of you. No. It's not enough. I pulled up the review statistics. These posts have already cost us 3 major clients. That's $1,000 in lost revenue. Revenue that was supposed to pay off your debt. Bentley stood up. Maybe if you'd given me a management position instead of sticking me in the pit. You lost that privilege when you nearly killed Jillian. I slammed the laptop shut. And now this? You're actively trying to destroy the only thing keeping our family afloat? Lillian, Mom stepped forward. Perhaps if we all just took a break. A break? Sure. How about a permanent one? I pulled out my phone. I can call the creditors right now. Let them know you're violating the terms of our agreement. You wouldn't, Dad whispered. Try me. I started dialing. 1 call and you lose everything. Again. But this time, I won't be here to save you. Wait. Mom grabbed my arm. Please, we'll handle this. Handle it? Like you handled his tech startup? His gambling? I'm sorry. The words burst from Mom like a dam breaking. Is that what you want to hear? I'm sorry we didn't believe in you. I'm sorry we favored him. I'm sorry for everything. The office went silent. In 15 years, I'd never heard my mother apologize for anything. Mom. Bentley started. No. She turned on him. You've done enough damage. First our savings. Now this? She straightened her work uniform. Lillian, what do you want us to do? I studied her face looking for any sign of manipulation. Found none. First, Bentley writes retractions for every fake review. Then he spends the next month detailing cars by hand. No power tools. I looked at my brother. Unless you'd prefer explaining to a judge why you violated our agreement. He slumped in his chair. Fine. And you two? I addressed my parents. Start acting like actual employees. No more covering for him. No more excuses. Dad nodded slowly. We understand. Do you? Because one more incident like this and the deal's off. I mean it. As they filed out, Casey appeared with a stack of paperwork. Customer satisfaction surveys from this week. Thought you might want to see these.